You probably assumed that the Galapagos giant tortoise, along with species like the Galapagos penguin, the Galapagos sea lion, and the Galapagos land iguana, were named after their habitat. In fact, it was the other way round. When the Galapagos Islands were discovered by Spanish explorers back in 1535, the gigantic tortoises made such an impression, they decided to name the islands after them. Galapagos comes from the Spanish Galapago, which means tortoise. Bigger than any tortoise you will have seen before, these creatures are the wildlife celebrities of the Galapagos, but there's so much more to these fascinating reptiles than meets the eye. So, let's find out more about these truly amazing animals. These tortoises live on 7 of the Galapagos Islands, with 12 subspecies of varying sizes. Some Galapagos tortoises weigh over 900 pounds, making them the largest existing tortoise species. The Galapagos tortoise stands tall with scaly skin that looks almost prehistoric. The shape of the tortoise shell has evolved to suit whatever environment the tortoise is born in. Tortoises born on wet, humid islands tend to have dome-shaped shells. These shells don't let the tortoise extend its neck, so the tortoise will graze on grass, fallen leaves, or other ground-level vegetation for food. Tortoises born on drier, more arid islands will have a saddleback shell. These shells have a raised rim right above the head that lets the tortoise extend its neck further. This lets the tortoise eat off of bushes and low-hanging branches. No matter where the tortoise is born, there is hardly any variation in shell color. A tortoise's shell is actually a part of its skeleton and cannot be removed. The shell grows along with the tortoise and isn't fully developed until the tortoise is 25 years old. The hard outer shell is the tortoise's primary defense against predators, and whenever a tortoise is frightened it will pull its head and legs into the shell. It's significantly more difficult for a predator to get to a tortoise in this position. Tortoises don't have teeth, so they use the bony outer edges of the mouth to bite off and gnash food. Once in the mouth, food is quickly swallowed. They don't have a good sense of smell, so they use their eyes to find food. Anything red really gets their attention. Despite their enormous size, the Galapagos giant tortoise doesn't eat much. Their meal of choice is green, and they typically graze throughout the day, eating small amounts of grass, leaves, and other vegetation. Popular food sources on the islands include some unusual choices, such as prickly cactus and the fruits of the manzanillo tree, which are poisonous and often fatal for humans. The giant tortoises of the Galapagos spend up to 16 hours napping daily. They may sleep with half of their body submerged in the dirt, water, or a bush to keep warm during cold nights. While the sun is out, they wallow in the mud, which helps them maintain a comfortable body temperature. Although people often say tortoises are slow, the Galapagos tortoise moves faster than expected. The average speed of a walking tortoise is 350 meters per hour. This is pretty impressive considering that a female tortoise will travel about 4 miles to lay her eggs. Female tortoises make no sounds at all, and while males do groan while mating, that's the only time they get vocal. The tortoise mating season on the Galapagos Islands runs from January through August, during the hottest part of the year. Male tortoises will follow the scent of sexually mature females and may compete against each other for the attention of their mate. When a suitable mate is found, the male tortoise will knock the female with its shell and nip at her feet until she lies down and draws her legs under her shell. Males will often follow females for 3 or 4 days before mating, and the act itself can take up to 20 minutes. After mating, female tortoises typically make their nests on the island's sandy beaches, using their hind legs to dig a hole about 30 centimeters deep. She will lay her eggs, typically between 2 and 20, in the hole, then cover it with sand or soil, and urinate on it to make a protective mud. The incubation period is between 4 to 5 months, with most tortoise hatchings occurring between December and April. Another curious fact is that the temperature of the incubation can determine the sex of the tortoises. Cooler temperatures mean more males will be born, while a warmer temperature means more females. The oldest known giant tortoise lived for 175 years. Harriet was taken from the Galapagos Islands in 1835 by none other than Charles Darwin himself. After living in England for a short spell, she was taken to Australia where clearly, she thrived in the warmer climate. She spent her last 20 years in Queensland-based Australia Zoo, owned by crocodile hunter Steve Irwin. From the 17th to the 18th century, around 100,000 were killed for food, mainly by pirates and whalers. Nowadays, they face new threats from introduced species. This is because cats and dogs prey on their eggs and juvenile tortoises, while livestock such as cattle threatens their food supply by grazing the same land. However, in contrast to juveniles, adult Galapagos tortoises have relatively few natural predators. Unfortunately, these tortoises are still officially classed as a vulnerable species. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running.